for a discussion of the coming of the autonomous supply chain. I'm joined by two executives from aThingz. Vijaya Neela is president and CEO. Hello, Vijaya.
Hello. How are you today?
Good. And Kannan Ramachandran is chief AI officer and chief commercial officer of aThingz. Hello, Kannan.
Hello, Bob. Nice to meet you.
Let me start with you, Kannan, just for a basic definition of what is an autonomous supply chain?
That's a great question, Bob. So autonomous supply chain, the way we see that is, imagine there's a digital twin of your supply chain, and it is able to sense different events and activities across your network, and is able to respond to those events and activities in the network via alerts, recommendations, initiating workflows. Those are all what we call as the key attributes of an autonomous supply chain, where it is constantly learning and is constantly addressing events and making those recommendations. It could be a cost savings recommendation, it could be an efficiency recommendations, or it could be you're running low on inventory, you need to order more materials. It could be any one of those. Those are just examples of how an autonomous supply chain would operate.
Okay. It is a multifaceted thing, however, and I think we're going to try to get through 5 basic components of an autonomous supply chain today. And let me start with you, Vijaya, if you could address the issue of planning as it relates to an autonomous supply chain. Where does that fit in?
Absolutely. Thank you. Planning is a key aspect within the supply chain. If you do it right, everything falls in place, or at least has a rhythm to how things are going to be orchestrated. So, we observe in the marketplace, the planning plays a key role so that the events are triggering and you have an action that goes along with it. So, from a planning perspective, we do both sides of the planning, which is from a route material that needs to go from the production requirements from the plants or the company to the supplier, and from there back to the plant in time, so that the production is happening as per the plan and meets the demand in alignment, so that the productivity is at the perfect balance.
Okay. Another thing, I guess, sort of linked to that, and also extremely important, is the issue of data quality. How does that fit into this whole picture?
So data quality is basically what you feed is what you get. So it's important that with so many dynamic players in the marketplace, you are bringing in the best of the data that has the same definition across. And when you're especially using it for planning, and we do a closed loop planning, as it goes from an execution, we bring it back and we kind of bring in all of those AI enabled machine learning foundation put in our planning. So the data is a gold that helps in fueling your planning engine to take it to the autonomous planning that we want to take it towards.
Mm-hmm. But the autonomous supply chain, it is itself determining the quality of the data, correct? It is ensuring that. That's how we know that the data is of high quality?
Absolutely, because you want to establish a autonomous supply chain, and your foundation layer would be your data, and the data needs to be managed well so that it goes in a well-run machine. So your data layer has to be orchestrated in a way that it can help you in your autonomous supply chain.
And it comes down to ensuring position accuracy as well. That's got to be very important.
Absolutely, very much. It is as you're taking an attribute and stitching with multiple attributes within what it makes up your supply chain. Each time a quality reduces, you're kind of reducing the quality further in multiples. So it's very important that you kind of take it to the a optimal level of data quality, so that you have the confidence in the data that you're using for making your business decisions.
Now, top of mind of many supply chains today, and for good reason, is the issue of supply chain resiliency. Can that also be achieved through the autonomous supply chain?
Yes,
Again,
of
Vijaya,
course.
yeah.
Yes, of course. We need to make sure in our resiliency, or kind of looking from an end to end, and also taking upstream into the value chain, so that the supply chain has a triggering point from a demand supply establishment. So you're kind of looking for how do you want to address it with whatever crisis that we have, looking at the fill rate of the supplier, looking at the carrier shortages, be it the carrier, the cost that is impacted, or any of the economic factor or the government regulations that play in this whole variable factors that lead into your supply chain. You kind of want to make sure all of those variables are factored in, and you're kind of measuring that, and you're putting a play in action for any of such threshold breaches. How do you want to react so that you're managing your supply chain resilience in a way that brings in your highest productivity?
Could certainly be used in terms of like a current crisis, like the semiconductor shortage. I would think that would come in very handy for a thing like that.
Absolutely. We have used this autonomous supply chain and resilience solutions for COVID, managing the COVID crisis. We have also implemented from a restart of the plants, as well as from a semiconductor. So it's important that you have all of those factored in. You look at what is your demand, what is your supply, and how are the players performing. As I mentioned, again, the fill rate, the the availability of the carriers and the equipments that they are carrying, the workers themselves, and various stakeholders in play. Managing those parameters to the perfection is what we say is you got to handle that to handle the situations.
Yeah. Let me turn to you, Kannan, to talk about another important aspect of the autonomous supply chain. And that is, you mentioned it at the top of this discussion, the digital twin. What is the relationship of that to artificial intelligence, and how does that fit into the picture?
A great question. So digital twins are very critical in terms of accelerating innovation, testing out hypotheses. I mean, when you look at supply chain and logistics organizations, they have a plethora of business processes and systems, and many of those systems and processes are also external to their organization, because that's where the most of the information resides. It's outside of the four walls of your organization. So it's very critical to have a digital twin capability that is able to mirror those business processes and systems and data, so that you're able to understand what's happening with those processes, what type of innovation opportunities, what type of efficiency opportunities exist. And when you bring in the element of AI into that, that means you're just accelerating the whole innovation journey within your organization, because now you're able to sense and test out your key hypotheses, make some predictions, get into a more prescriptive type of an environment. So you're able to apply AI in that digital twin environment, and then you can go and operationalize that innovation into your business process.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine a digital twin being a successful thing without the help of AI to make sense of it all. I would think the two feels like the two really go hand in hand. Let me turn back to you, Vijaya, for the final of the 5 components, and that is cost to serve, because this is of great importance to companies. It's just how much are they spending in their supply chain on individual customers and the like. So can this indeed help you determine that very important metric?
Absolutely. That's the key. A business is established to make money, and you got to manage that very well, be it, in your corporate reportings or your profitability, or, how you make your operational margins. That plays a big role. So the cost to serve, what you are running as your business, there is a operational side of it, and there is a financial side of it. So what does it take to serve, and having that visibility both from an action, the functional physical action, and as well as the financial repercussions of each of those actions, and how do you balance them simultaneously, because you got to run both in a stable way. It is not that one can go down and one can go up. It has to be in equilibrium to take it through your autonomous supply chain. So we do make sure, in terms of the cost to serve, there is a byproduct of that is also looking at an opportunities of making it optimal, and looking from a cost savings or the cost avoidance of any of your transactions that you are doing, and you're kind of fine tuning that as you're learning. Again, as Kannan mentioned, this is a very dynamic in nature. We have a lot of interactions that happens from an outside to inside as well, which is a major contribution in supply chain and logistics
Yeah.
side of it, and especially with the digitization and the way how the economy is going and how the generation has moved into the cost of serve, keeping it competitive as well as the qualitative, and making sure you bring in the variety in terms of innovations play a very key role. So having the visibility of the cost to serve plays a significant role in supply chain.
Thank you very much. Boy, what a complex issue. So many elements. They all kind of wrap into this whole concept of the autonomous supply chain. I want to thank you both for helping us understand what those pieces are and how they fit together. But I want to take a couple minutes here at the end to talk about aThingz specifically. Kannan, tell me a little bit about the company. How long have you folks been around, and sort of what was your idea, and what did you think you could offer the marketplace?
Sure. We've been 5 years into this journey of aThingz, and we set out with the goal of how we can improve the accuracy of supply chain business decisions, and how we can provide faster and timely insights across the value chain, and how we can use artificial intelligence for that. So that's kind of how we, a primary objective of our company is. And the genesis of that start off with, we look at isolated functions within the value chain, and if they're not integrated, you're mostly reactive, right? I mean, if there's supply issue and if you have forecasting issues, you can optimize your logistics. And the other important aspect or driving force about our company is data quality. It's very nice to talk about it, but what we kind of do is make an earnest effort to improve the quality of data, not only just report the quality of data, but how we can improve it, because that, in our point of view, is an important critical success factor for you to drive digital transformation to your organization. So those are the two driving factors, and that's what we focus on. And ultimately, our goal is to take our customers to an autonomous supply chain model where we get into a self-learning, self-healing autonomous model where they're able to sense the model is able to sense all those events, and the customers are able to get the value of it in a highly mature manner.
Do you think the current crises, the pandemic, the recession, and everything that kind of surrounds that is speeding up progress toward that goal?
Absolutely. What we call that is hyper automation. So customers need information at the fingertips. So they not only want to know what happened, but they want to know why it happened and what is going to happen, and what are the action they need to take to affect a certain business outcome, and how we can tie all this together in an automated fashion. They want to reduce the number of clicks to get to that information. So absolutely, it is accelerating the whole autonomous self-learning, self-healing journey.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there'll still be people around, but it's nice to think at least that the system is under control in a way it never has before, and providing a level of intelligence that just wasn't available to us before. Hey, I want to thank both of you, Vijaya Neela and Kannan Ramachandran of aThingz, for spending time with me here to describe this really fascinating subject and tell me a little bit about your company too. Thanks to both of you for being with me today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. You have a good day.
Thank you, Bob. You have a good day.